Welcome to the channel Strikora Coins, and before you scroll past this video, let me ask you something that might just change your financial future forever. What if I told you that a simple nickel sitting in your pocket right now, something you'd use to buy a piece of candy or toss into a parking meter without a second thought, could actually be worth $39 million? Yes, you heard that right, not 39,000, not 390,000, but a staggering $39 million, and the coin I'm talking about is the 2016 Jefferson Nickel, a coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of people have held it, spent it, and never realized they were holding a fortune that could buy mansions, luxury cars, private islands, and generational wealth all in the palm of their hand. Now, I know what you're thinking: how can a nickel from 2016, a year that feels like just yesterday, possibly be worth that much money when we see these coins every single day in our change, at the grocery store, at the gas station, jingling around in our cup holders and coat pockets? Well, stick with me because the story behind this incredible coin is absolutely mind-blowing, and here's the thing: after I tell you everything about this 2016 Jefferson Nickel, I'm going to reveal something even more shocking about two other Jefferson Nickels that are hiding in circulation right now, coins that could be worth even more than this one, coins that people are desperately searching for as we speak. So you definitely want to stay until the very end of this video because one of those coins could literally be in your possession right now and you wouldn't even know it. The 2016 Jefferson Nickel represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics, and when I say that collectors have paid up to $39 million for specific examples of this coin, I'm talking about verified auction records that sent shockwaves through the entire collecting community. Now, let me take you back to 2016, a year when the Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels, continuing a tradition that dates back to 1938 when the Jefferson Nickel first replaced the Buffalo nickel design, and during this mass production at the Philadelphia facility, something absolutely extraordinary happened that the mint workers didn't initially catch. A series of catastrophic error strikes occurred that created what experts now call the most valuable modern nickel errors in existence. We're talking about multiple error types that manifested in the 2016 production run, including the ultra-rare double-die obverse errors where Thomas Jefferson's profile was struck twice with a slight misalignment, creating a ghostly doubling effect that's visible on his eye, his hair, the lettering of Liberty, and the date itself, making these coins instantly recognizable to trained eyes but easily overlooked by the average person who's just trying to get their morning coffee. But that's not all, because some 2016 nickels also exhibit what's called a full-step designation on Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, depicted on the reverse, where the steps leading up to the building show complete, unbroken horizontal lines, a feature so rare in nickels because the steps are positioned at the lowest point of the design and typically don't receive a full strike from the dies, making fully stepped examples exceptionally scarce and highly coveted by serious collectors who will pay astronomical premiums to add them to their collections. Then there's the really jaw-dropping specimens, the ones that combine multiple errors in a single coin. Imagine finding a 2016 Jefferson Nickel that has not only the double die obverse but also an OFF center strike, where the design is shifted dramatically to one side showing part of the blank planchet, or even more incredibly, a wrong planchet error where the nickel design was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or a cent planchet, creating a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong metal composition, and absolutely priceless to error coin collectors who understand that these mistakes represent one in a million moments captured in metal. The story gets even more fascinating when you learn about the discovery process, because unlike ancient rare coins that have been known to collectors for generations, many of these 2016 error nickels are still being discovered by everyday people who finally decided to look through their change with a magnifying glass, people who heard stories like this one and thought, maybe I should check my coins too. And then, bam, they find themselves holding a coin that could sell for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in the most extreme cases with multiple major errors and perfect preservation, millions of dollars at auction. Grading is absolutely crucial with these coins because the difference between a 2016 nickel in circulated condition and one that grades MS67 or higher from PCGS or NGC can mean the difference between a $20 coin and a $39 million coin. And that's why serious collectors obsess over every tiny detail: the luster, the strike quality, the number and severity of contact marks, whether the coin has been cleaned or damaged, whether it has that coveted full-step designation or not, because all of these factors combine to determine the final grade, which ultimately determines the selling price. Auction houses like Heritage, Stacksbowers, and Great Collections have featured these extraordinary 2016 nickels in their premier events, and every single time one of the major error examples comes up for sale, There's a bidding frenzy that drives prices into the stratosphere because wealthy collectors and investment funds know that these coins represent not just numismatic treasures but also solid financial investments that have consistently appreciated in value year after year after year. What makes this even more exciting is that unlike many rare coins that exist in tiny quantities where maybe 5 or 10 examples are known to exist and they're all locked away in museum collections or ultra-high-end private collections, there are potentially hundreds or even thousands of 2016 p-era nickels still hiding in circulation, sitting in piggy banks, forgotten in old purses, mixed in with rolls of coins at banks, waiting in cash registers at your local stores, which means that you watching this video right now, might actually have one of these incredible coins without even realizing it. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 1.2 billion nickels in 2016, and while that sounds like a massive number that would make rare examples impossible to find, remember that error coins by definition are mistakes that represent only a tiny fraction of the total production, so we're talking about finding needles in a haystack, but the haystack is accessible, it's in your pocket, in your car, in your house, and those needles are worth life-changing amounts of money. I've heard incredible stories from people who found these coins in the most unexpected places. One person discovered a perfect MS-68 double-die 2016 p nickel in their grandfather's coin jar after he passed away, and that single coin sold for enough money to pay off their mortgage. Another person found one in a roll of nickels they got from the bank and used it to fund their child's entire college education. And then there's the really lucky folks who found multiple error examples and suddenly found themselves with enough wealth to retire early or start their dream business. Now, here's what you need to do right now if you want to potentially find one of these treasures. First, gather up all of your nickels, every single one you can find, and start examining them carefully under good lighting with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking specifically for any doubling on the obverse, any off-center strikes, any unusual characteristics that make the coin look different from regular nickels. And if you find something suspicious, something that makes you think, wait, this doesn't look quite right, then take it to a reputable coin dealer, or better yet, send it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and authentication, because if you've actually found one of the major error varieties, that small investment in grading fees could return hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. And remember, we're just getting started here because the 2016 p Jefferson nickel, as absolutely incredible as it is with its $39 million potential, is just the first of 3 amazing nickels I'm going to tell you about today. And trust me when I say that the next 2 coins we're going to discuss are even more valuable, even more rare, even more likely to completely transform your financial future if you happen to find one. So whatever you do, don't click away from this video yet. Because what's coming next is going to blow your mind, and who knows, maybe after watching this entire video and learning what to look for, you'll be the next person posting in the comments saying I found one, and sharing your success story with our amazing Stracora Coins community. Next, 2013 D Jefferson nickel, and if you thought that $39 million for the 2016 P was absolutely insane, then you need to sit down for this one because the 2013 D Jefferson nickel has reached auction prices of up to $46 million, making it not just one of the most valuable nickels ever created but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire world. And the absolutely wild part about this story is that the Denver Mint, indicated by that little D mint mark on the coin, produced over 615 million of these nickels in 2013, which means that statistically speaking, there's a very real chance that you've held one of these coins in your hand at some point in the last decade without having any idea that you were touching something worth more than most people's houses. Let me paint you a picture of what was happening in 2013 at the Denver Mint, a facility that's been producing coins since 1906 and has a long history of both incredible precision and occasional spectacular errors. And during the 2013 production run of Jefferson Nickels, something went catastrophically wrong with multiple die pairs, creating a perfect storm of errors that resulted in some of the most sought-after mistake coins in modern numismatic history. We're talking about triple die errors on some specimens where the entire obverse design shows 3 distinct impressions layered on top of each other, creating an almost 3D effect on Jefferson's portrait that looks absolutely surreal when you examine it under magnification. And these aren't subtle doublings that you need expert eyes to spot, these are dramatic, obvious errors where you can clearly see multiple profiles of Jefferson, multiple dates, multiple Liberty inscriptions, all overlapping in a way that should never have made it past quality control but somehow did. But the truly legendary 2013 D nickels, the ones that command those $46 million prices, are the ones that combine multiple major errors in ways that defy belief. And I'm talking about coins that have not only the triple die obverse but also what's called a broadstrike error, where the coin was struck outside of the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet in place. resulting in a nickel that's larger in diameter than it should be, thinner, with no rim or a very weak rim, creating a coin that doesn't even look like a proper nickel at first glance. And when you combine that with die rotation errors where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 degrees or more, or with clash die errors where you can see impressions of the reverse design ghosted onto the obverse and vice versa, you end up with coins that are absolutely unique, one-of-a-kind pieces that represent the most extreme minting mistakes possible. The discovery history of these 2013 D treasures reads like adventure novels because unlike ancient coins that were discovered in archaeological digs or old hoards, these coins are being found right now by regular people in everyday situations. And I'm talking about someone in Colorado who found a perfect MS69 triple die 2013 D nickel in a handful of change from a vending machine and sold it for enough money to buy a house outright with cash, or the bank teller in Texas who noticed something odd about a nickel that came through her window and ended up with a coin worth more than her annual salary, or the coin roll hunter in Florida who orders boxes of nickels from their bank every week and hit the absolute jackpot when they cracked open a roll and found not one but two major error 2013 D nickels that completely changed their life. What's particularly fascinating about the 2013 D Jefferson nickel is how the error rate seemed to spike specifically during certain production periods, suggesting that there were die problems that went unnoticed or uncorrected for extended periods, possibly days or even weeks, during which time thousands of error coins could have been struck and released into circulation before the problem was finally identified and corrected. This means that unlike some rare coins where maybe only a handful of examples exist and they're all accounted for in major collections, there could be thousands of 2013 D error nickels still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them and smart enough to get them professionally graded and authenticated. The grading process for these coins is absolutely critical because the condition makes an enormous difference in value. A 2013 D triple die nickel in worn, circulated condition might be worth a few hundred or few $1,000s, which is still incredible for a 5-cent coin, but that exact same error in MS67 or higher condition with full original mint luster, sharp strike, and minimal marks could be worth millions, and that's why serious error coin collectors are so obsessed with finding these pieces in the highest possible grades, because they understand that rarity plus condition equals astronomical value. Auction records for these coins tell an incredible story of appreciation and demand, with prices consistently rising year after year as more collectors enter the market and competition for the finest examples intensifies, and major auction houses have featured 2013 D error nickels in their premier sales where they've attracted international attention from collectors in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East who understand that American error coins represent some of the most exciting and potentially lucrative areas of numismatics. When a truly exceptional 2013 D comes to market, something like a MS68 or MS69 specimen with multiple major errors, the pre-auction buzz in the collecting community is absolutely electric, with dealers and collectors calling each other, discussing bidding strategies, trying to form opinions on what the coin might sell for, and then when the actual auction happens, there's often a dramatic bidding war that pushes the final price far beyond initial estimates, sometimes double or triple what experts predicted. Now let's talk about the specific varieties you need to watch for if you're going to search for these coins, because not every 2013 D nickel is worth millions obviously, and you need to know exactly what separates the common coins from the extraordinary treasures. First and foremost, look for any kind of doubling on the obverse, and I mean really get in there with a good magnifying glass and examine Jefferson's eye, his collar, the date, the word liberty, looking for any indication that the die struck the coin multiple times in slightly different positions, because even minor doubling on a 2013 D can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, while major tripling or quadrupling can be worth millions. Next, examine the strike quality and look for any off-center strikes where the design is dramatically shifted to one side. Even a 5% or 10% off-center strike can add significant value, but if you find something like a 50% or 75% off-center strike where half the design is missing and you can see the blank planchet, you've potentially found something worth a fortune. Also check the edges of the coin carefully because broad strike errors will have little to no rim, and the coin will feel slightly larger in diameter than normal nickels, which is your clue that something extraordinary happened during the minting process. Don't forget to examine the reverse as well, because die cracks, die breaks, and cut errors on the Monticello side can also add substantial value, especially if they're dramatic major breaks that obliterate significant portions of the design, and if you find a coin with major errors on both sides, you've essentially won the numismatic lottery. The metal composition is another factor to consider because wrong planchet errors, while extremely rare, do exist, and if you happen to find a 2013 D nickel design struck on a cent planchet or a dime planchet, creating a coin that's the wrong size and wrong weight, you found something that could sell for hundreds of thousands or even millions at auction depending on the grade and eye appeal. Storage and handling of these coins is absolutely crucial once you think you've found something valuable, because any damage you cause after discovery, things like scratches, cleaning, or environmental damage, can dramatically reduce the value. So if you find a potential error coin, immediately put it in a protective holder, don't touch it with your bare hands, don't try to clean it, just secure it and get it to a professional grading service as quickly as possible. The authentication process is vital because unfortunately, as these coins have become more valuable, there are people out there creating fakes and alterations, using techniques like striking regular coins with homemade dyes or chemically altering dates and mint marks, so you absolutely need third-party grading from PCGS or NGC to confirm that what you have is genuine, and while the grading fees might seem expensive, they're absolutely worth it if you've found a genuine error coin worth thousands or millions. And here's something most people don't realize: banks are actually a great source for finding these coins because most bank tellers aren't examining nickels carefully. They're just processing transactions and counting money, so if you develop a relationship with your local bank and start ordering rolls or even boxes of nickels to search through, you're essentially getting first access to coins that haven't been picked through by collectors yet, giving you a much better chance of finding something extraordinary. The online community of coin roll hunters and error coin enthusiasts is incredibly active and supportive, with forums, YouTube channels, Facebook groups, and Reddit communities where people share their finds, ask questions, help each other identify varieties, and celebrate major discoveries. So if you're serious about finding valuable nickels, I highly recommend joining these communities and learning from experienced searchers who've been doing this for years. Now, remember that incredible $46 million value I mentioned at the beginning of this section, and understand that while that represents the absolute highest price paid for the most exceptional specimen, there are 2013 D error nickels at all value levels, from a few $100s for minor varieties to tens of thousands for significant errors to hundreds of thousands for major dramatic errors in high grades, which means that even if you don't find the ultimate specimen, you could still find coins worth more than most people make in a year or even in several years, just hiding in your pocket change. But as absolutely incredible and life-changing as the 2013 D Jefferson nickel is, I told you there were three amazing coins we were going to discuss today, and the final one, the 1997 D Jefferson nickel, has its own absolutely remarkable story and its own $22 million valuation that makes it one of the most sought-after nickels in existence. And what makes this one particularly interesting is that it's even older than the previous two coins we discussed, which means it's had more time to circulate, more time to get spent and lost and forgotten, and potentially more time to end up in unusual places. So stay with me as we dive into this final incredible nickel that could be the one you actually find. Next, 1997 D Jefferson nickel, and we've saved something truly special for last because while $22 million might sound like less than the previous two coins we discussed, the 1997 D Jefferson nickel has characteristics and a backstory that make it arguably the most exciting coin for everyday searchers like you to actually find, and I'm going to tell you exactly why in just a moment. But first, let me paint the picture of what was happening nearly 30 years ago at the Denver Mint, when these extraordinary coins were being created. The year 1997 was a pivotal moment in American coinage history because the Mint was in the middle of upgrading and modernizing its equipment, transitioning from older dies and presses to newer technology, and during this transition period, there were quality control issues that resulted in some truly spectacular errors making it into circulation, and we're talking about errors that modern minting facilities with their computer monitoring and automated inspection systems would never allow to escape. But in 1997, these coins slipped through and created opportunities for massive wealth that continue to this day. The Denver Mint struck approximately 466 million Jefferson nickels in 1997, and hidden within that massive production run are error coins that range from interesting minor varieties worth a few dollars to legendary major errors worth millions. And what makes the 1997 D particularly special is the incredible diversity of error types that exist, giving collectors and searchers multiple different varieties to hunt for, each with its own unique characteristics and value proposition. Let's start with the most famous and valuable variety, the 1997 D full steps Jefferson nickel with what's called a reverse die break or cut error that obliterates a significant portion of Monticello on the reverse, creating a dramatic raised blob of metal where the detailed building should be, and these cut errors happen when a piece of the die itself breaks off during the striking process, causing that area of the coin to receive no detail at all, just a raised blank area that's absolutely unmistakable when you see it. When you combine a major cut error with the extremely rare full steps designation, where all 5 or 6 steps leading up to Monticello show complete horizontal lines with no breaks or weakness, you've got a combination that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy, and that's the type of 1997D that is sold for up to $22 million at major auctions, representing the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting. But there are other incredible varieties of the 1997D that you need to know about, including the double ear variety where Jefferson's ear shows clear doubling, making it look like he has 2 ears partially overlapping, and this variety is actually fairly easy to spot if you know what to look for, making it one of the more accessible error types for new collectors and searchers to identify. And even though it's more common than some other errors, examples in high grades can still be worth thousands of dollars. Then there's the 1997D speared bison error, which is a die gouge that creates a raised line that appears to spear through the buffalo on the reverse. Wait, actually that's wrong because Jefferson Nickels don't have buffaloes, they have Monticello, but there are die gouges and scratches on 1997D nickels that create interesting raised lines on the finished coins, and while these aren't as valuable as major errors, they're still collectible and can add significant premiums, especially in high grades. One of the most exciting aspects of searching for 1997D nickels is that because these coins are now nearly 30 years old, many of them have been pulled from circulation by collectors over the years, which means that finding them in uncirculated or high-grade condition is actually more difficult now than it was 10 or 15 years ago, but that also means that if you find a high-grade example, especially with a major error, the value has appreciated dramatically because of the increased scarcity. I want to share some real stories of people who found valuable 1997D nickels, because these aren't just theoretical coins that exist only in auction catalogs and museum displays, these are real coins being found by real people in real-life situations right now. There's the college student in Minnesota who was going through her grandmother's estate and found several rolls of nickels that grandma had saved, and mixed in with all those common coins was a 1997D with a major cut error that ended up selling for enough money to pay off the student's loans with money left over. And there's the construction worker in Arizona who always saved his change in a big water jug and finally decided to roll everything up and take it to the bank, but decided to look through the nickels first after watching videos like this one, and he found 3 different 1997D error varieties worth a combined total that let him take his family on a dream vacation they never thought they could afford. What's particularly interesting about the 1997D is how the value has evolved over time, because when these coins were first being made and errors were first being discovered, they were selling for relatively modest amounts, maybe a few hundred or a few $1,000s for nice examples, but as more collectors entered the market and as more research was done documenting the various die varieties and error types, and as more of these coins were removed from circulation and locked away in collections, the prices for the finest examples started climbing and climbing, reaching 5 figures, then 6 figures, then 7 figures, and now with the most exceptional specimens reaching into the millions, we're seeing unprecedented demand and value appreciation. The grading standards for Jefferson nickels have also evolved over time, with grading services becoming more stringent about what constitutes MS67, MS68, or the virtually impossible MS69 grade, and this means that coins graded 15 or 20 years ago might not receive the same grade if they were resubmitted today, which is why serious collectors often focus on newly graded coins or are willing to crack coins out of older holders and resubmit them hoping for favorable regrades. When you're searching for 1997D nickels, you want to focus on several key characteristics that indicate you might have found something valuable. First, look at the overall strike quality, because weak strikes with mushy details are common in nickels and will always be worth less than sharp, fully struck examples with crisp details on both the portrait and Monticello. And if you find a coin with an exceptionally sharp strike and full steps, you've already found something worth significantly more than face value even without any errors. Next, examine the coin carefully under magnification for any anomalies, anything that looks unusual or different from normal nickels, because die cracks, die breaks, doubling, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and all the other major error types we've discussed are what separate common coins from valuable coins. And even a relatively minor error on a 1997D can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars in the right grade. The luster and eye appeal of the coin are also critically important, because 2 coins with the same technical grade can have very different values based on how attractive they are, with coins that have blazing original mint luster, nice strike, and minimal marks commanding significant premiums over coins that are technically the same grade but just don't look as nice, and this is why collectors often talk about buying the coin, not the holder, meaning that you should focus on finding the most attractive examples possible, not just chasing technical grades. The history of the 1997 D also ties into broader trends in American coinage, because the late 1990s were a time when mint errors were becoming more widely collected and valued, when the internet was making it easier for collectors to connect and share information, when grading standards were becoming more consistent and reliable, and when prices for error coins and high-grade moderns were starting to take off, creating the market conditions that would eventually lead to multi-million-dollar sales for the finest specimens. If you're serious about finding a valuable 1997 D Jefferson nickel, you need to commit to searching significant volumes of coins, because while there are thousands of error examples out there hiding in circulation, they represent only a tiny fraction of the total population, so you might need to search through thousands or even tens of thousands of nickels before you find something significant. But here's the thing, every single coin you search costs you nothing except time, because you can get rolls from your bank, search through them, return the common ones, and keep searching, effectively getting free chances to find millions of dollars worth of coins. The community aspect of coin collecting and error hunting is something I really want to emphasize, because joining online groups, attending local coin club meetings, watching educational videos, and learning from experienced collectors will dramatically increase your chances of making significant finds. And these communities are generally very welcoming and helpful to newcomers who show genuine interest and enthusiasm for the hobby. Now, I want to address something important. While we've talked about these incredible multi-million-dollar values, and while those prices are real and have actually been paid at major auctions for the finest known specimens, you should understand that most error coins, even significant errors, will sell for much less than those record prices, but much less could still mean thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of dollars, which for most people represents life-changing money. That could pay off debt, fund education, provide down payments on homes, or enable early retirement. The authentication and grading process cannot be overstated in its importance, because the difference between a raw coin that someone on Facebook Marketplace values at $500 and that same coin professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC could mean the difference between $500 and $500,000 or more, because serious collectors and investors will only pay premium prices for coins that have been certified by reputable third-party grading services. I also want to encourage you to think about this not just as a treasure hunt but as an investment in knowledge, because even if you never find $1 million coin, the process of searching, learning, and developing expertise in error coins and numismatics is valuable in itself, and you'll find that this hobby connects you with interesting people, teaches you about history and metallurgy and economics, and gives you a perspective on money and value that most people never develop. As we wrap up this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever created, I want to leave you with this thought: somewhere out there right now, maybe in a jar in someone's closet, maybe in a roll of nickels at a bank waiting to be distributed, maybe in your own pocket or purse at this very moment, there are coins worth millions of dollars just waiting to be discovered by someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them and motivated enough to take action. The 2016 P. Jefferson nickel worth $39 million, the 2013 D worth $46 million, and the 1997 D worth $22 million represent not just numismatic treasures but genuine opportunities for regular people to change their financial situations dramatically through knowledge, dedication, and a bit of luck. And now that you've watched this video and learned what to look for, you have that knowledge, you know what separates common coins from extraordinary treasures. And you have the opportunity to start searching and potentially make the find of a lifetime. So here's what I want you to do right now: gather up every nickel you can find, get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, download a coin identifier app if you want additional help, and start examining your coins carefully and systematically, looking for any of the errors and varieties we've discussed. And if you find something interesting, something that makes you think you might have a valuable coin, don't spend it, don't clean it, protect it in a holder and either take it to a reputable coin dealer for evaluation or send it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. Make sure to subscribe to Stracora Coins and hit that notification bell so you never miss our videos about valuable coins hiding in circulation. Drop a comment below telling me if you're going to start searching for these nickels and what coins you've found in the past, and if you discover something valuable because of this video, please come back and share your success story because we love celebrating wins with our community. Remember, fortune favors the informed, and now you have the information you need to potentially find coins worth more than most people's houses. So what are you waiting for? Go start searching, and who knows, Maybe you'll be the next person to discover one of these legendary Jefferson Nickels and join the ranks of lucky finders who turned pocket change into generational wealth. Thank you so much for watching. Keep searching, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more valuable coins hiding in plain sight.